I see you, I saw you. Remembrance of Now. This is a story about two boys who discover that the real seesaw isn't only on the playground, it's in the mind. Who I am is the made-up identity built from the past. What I am is the true identity that was never constructed. Carlos sat on one end of an old playground seesaw. Painted across the wooden seat beneath him were the words, "Who I am." Across the playground, Lucas kicked a soccer ball against a wall. Carlos watched and remembered yesterday. Lucas had laughed when Carlos missed an easy goal. Other kids laughed too. Carlos still felt the embarrassment. Thump! His seesaw seat hit the ground. Lucas looked over. "You okay? You know why I'm mad?" Lucas stopped kicking the ball, walked over and sat on the opposite seesaw seat. Painted beneath him were the words, "What I am." Lucas looked down. "That's strange." Carlos glanced at his own seat. "Mine says who I am." Lucas smiled. "This seesaw has a lot to say." Carlos almost laughed. Then yesterday returned. Thump! His side dropped again. "You laughed at me." "I know. You embarrassed me, I know. You always do things like that." Lucas looked at him. "Always?" Carlos stopped. He remembered Lucas carrying his broken backpack and sharing lunch when Carlos forgot his. "Okay, not always." Lucas nodded. "I was showing off. I wanted everybody to laugh. I didn't think about how it would feel to you. I'm sorry." The seesaw became still. For the first time since yesterday, Carlos wasn't looking only at the Lucas inside his memory. He was looking at Lucas now. Lucas pointed toward the center support. "There's another word." Painted in the middle was awareness. "Maybe we're supposed to meet there," Lucas said. They moved toward the center. Carlos stepped away from who I am. Lucas stepped away from what I am. The board rocked until they met in the middle. The seesaw balanced. "So this is awareness," Lucas grinned. "Looks a lot like trying not to fall off." Carlos laughed. Then something clicked. "This seesaw isn't really out here." Lucas looked around. "It looks pretty real." "I mean the real one." Carlos tapped his forehead. "It's in my mind. When I remember what you did yesterday, I decide who you are. Then I decide who I am because of it." Carlos looked toward his old seat. The embarrassed kid, the angry kid, the kid everybody laughed at. He looked back at Lucas. "When I decide who you are from the past, I start deciding who I am too." Lucas glanced toward the seat marked who I am, a made-up identity. "Yeah, I build it from memories. What happened to me, what people said about me, what I did right or wrong, even what I think you think about me." Lucas looked toward the opposite seat. "And what I am?" Carlos became quiet. "That feels different. Who I am is something I keep building." He touched his chest. "What I am was here before I built anything." Carlos looked directly at him. "I saw you yesterday. I know, but I see you now." "What changed?" "Not yesterday." Carlos smiled. "My mind." He looked toward who I am. "When I turn you into a who, I turn myself into one too." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "So we both become characters in your story?" "Pretty much." "That sounds exhausting." "It is." They laughed. Carlos looked down at awareness beneath their feet. "When I forget what I am, I become who I think I am. Sometimes I even become who I think you think I am. And when you let that go..." Carlos looked toward what I am. "I remember what I am." Lucas smiled. "And what am I?" Carlos shook his head. "I don't think I can put it into words." "Good. I was worried there might be a test." Then his voice softened. "But when I stop deciding who you are from what you did, something happens in me." "What?" "I get free too." Lucas looked at him. "So I saved you? You gave me another chance to see. You did something that hurt me. That matters, but my mind kept replaying it and building identities out of it." Carlos looked toward who I am. "I did that part to myself." Lucas nodded. "That doesn't sound like blame." "It isn't. It means I can choose again." Around them, children ran, climbed, laughed, argued, forgave, and began again. Everything was happening now. Carlos understood the seesaw. One end held the identity he had made from the past. The other pointed toward what had never needed to be made. Awareness was where he could see the difference. Carlos looked at Lucas. "When I let go of who I am, I remember what I am." Lucas smiled. "And when you let go of who you think I am," Carlos smiled back, "I remember too." They jumped from the seesaw and ran toward the soccer field. Behind them, the board moved once. Who I am fell. What I am rose. Then the seesaw became still. At the center, awareness remained. May we sing, rest, and dance our way home together.